Now, recently, the Trump administration released a climate report. They actually did so on Friday, just one day after Thanksgiving, on Black Friday, where news stories essentially go to die. But, of course, this is a story that won't die, that will never die, and it shouldn't because of how important it is. Now, Trump himself, on that report, released by his own administration, which says there will be massive consequences due to climate change, said this about it. Watch.
I've seen it. I've read some of it, and it's fine.
They say economic impact is devastating.
Yeah, I don't believe it.
You don't believe it?
No, I don't believe it. And here's the other thing. You're going to have China and Japan and all of Asia and all of these other countries, addresses our country. Right now, we're at the cleanest we've ever been, and that's very important to me. But if we're clean, but every other place on earth is dirty, that's not so good. So I want clean air, I want clean water, very important.
I don't believe it, but I want clean air, clean water. Very, very important to me. Plus, everybody else is dirty. We're the cleanest. Really, we're the cleanest? I mean, we're tremendously clean. Nobody can be as clean as we are. No, that's not true. In fact, the American Lung Association's 2018 State of the Air report found that ozone pollution had worsened significantly due to warmer temperatures, while particle pollution continued to improve in both 2014 and 2016. Now, that doesn't make us the cleanest. We're not the cleanest. We're not the worst either. But we're definitely not the cleanest. We're somewhere in the middle. Now, the 19th Annual National Air Quality Report Card actually found, and this is disastrous, that 133.9 million Americans, more than 4 in 10, lived in counties with unhealthful levels of either ozone or particle pollution in 2014 through 2016, placing them at risk for premature death and other serious health effects, such as lung cancer, asthma attacks, cardiovascular damage, and developmental and reproductive harm. So, not the cleanest. And that, by the way, was still under President Obama, a Democratic administration. Now, under Trump, we've consistently deregulated industry, eliminated regulations on the environment, and as I said before, on industry pollution. Not only that, but we pulled out of the Paris Climate Agreement. So it's very likely that those numbers are actually worse under Donald Trump, that we have actually dipped in the ratings. We're still, of course, not the dirtiest. I think that does apply to Asia and India and places like that that are still developing. But look, China, I got to mention China as well. China is now one of the leading producers of solar panels. So they're actually trying to fix that and trying to do something about climate change, because every other country in the world, all of their leaders, can see that this is a problem. So, no, we're not the worst, but we're definitely not the best. And to say that, well, everybody else is dirty, well, maybe if you think that way, wrongly so, but if you think that way, well, then maybe you should think, well, America can be a leader. It's not, well, if everybody else is dirty, why not we? Why can't we be dirty too and fuck up the rest of the world? No, you should actually be a leader and say, hey, you know what? We're going to set an example for you guys, and then we're going to use our economic might to do the right thing and actually try to steer the world towards something better. Hey, guess what? We had something like that. It was called the Paris Climate Agreement. Yeah, exactly. But anyway, here's the thing. It's not just about air quality, by the way, which I assume that's what Trump's talking about. We're the cleanest. We're the greatest, right? It's about the amount of carbon dioxide we're putting into the atmosphere, as well as methane and other greenhouse gases, right? Those are what's driving climate change. But the report he was referring to, which was produced by scientists from 13 different federal agencies, concluded that the United States would warm by at least 3 more degrees by 2100 unless the use of fossil fuels was dramatically curtailed by the United States and, of course, the rest of the world. But the United States is also really important because, as I said before, we can actually be a leader on this issue. Now, there was an earlier report from the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Now, that report came out in October, and it basically said the same things. We have a massive problem. Man-made climate change, man-made global warming is changing the climate, and we have to do something major or else it's going to have massive impacts, not just on the climate, but also on the world economy. Now, they said that they need to reduce global emissions of CO2 by 45% from 2010 levels by the year 2030, and reduce coal use to almost zero, and use up to 7 million square kilometers, that is 2.7 million square miles for land energy crops. Now, of course, the Trump administration is like, no, I don't believe that report. And guess what? I don't even believe our own report. Now, the same report from the Trump administration also connected climate change to other environmental issues, like record-breaking wildfires and storms, and warned of negative effects on the economy and American livelihoods. And they said, without substantial and sustained global mitigation and regional adaptation efforts, climate change is expected to cause growing losses to American infrastructure and property and impede the rate of economic growth over this century. So more economic harm, along with more storms, stronger storms, more fires, more terrible conditions. Not to mention, we have an issue with human migration. So look, we don't even need to go to 2100 to see the impacts. It's happening right now. It's right in front of our faces. California is literally burning on fire. And so how much do you think that costs the taxpayer? Hundreds of millions of dollars, right? Both to fight the fires and to rebuild after them. How much have we spent on hurricanes? Trying to fix the damage from those. Now look, I care about people. I care about the environment. But some people, let's be honest, they can't see past their own pocketbook. And I got news for them. Climate change is going to cost you guys money. Far more money than setting up a system of clean, renewable sources of energy. Sure, it'll be a transition. But in the end, we'll end up actually having more jobs. Higher paying jobs. Cleaner jobs. That'll help the economy. So if all you care about is economic growth, is the economy, then why wouldn't you be in favor of a Green New Deal that promises to create more jobs, better paying jobs? Then I'm pretty sure the people that are working in a coal mine right now would rather have a higher paying, better job in solar. It definitely saves on that whole black lung thing, which I'm sure is very uncomfortable and not cool to have. But see, Trump and the government under the Republicans are not interested in that because they get money from fossil fuel companies. The GOP gets millions and millions of dollars in legal campaign bribes, campaign contributions from fossil fuel companies. And of course, they all talk about let's have more fossil fuels, let's dig more coal, let's do more oil pipelines, let's do more gas pipelines. You know, I have a it was like a cousin or something that works in pipelines. They leak all the time, by the way. That's environmental damage. They leak, and again, the methane that gets burned when they or that gets released when they use that as a fuel also exacerbates climate change. Now, I would hate to see him lose his job, but at the same time, I'd actually want him to get something better in not in fossil fuels, but in clean energy, better energy, stuff that is renewable and not dangerous. He was telling me a story over the Thanksgiving holiday of where somebody dug in the wrong spot, hit a pipeline, and they saw the explosion from blocks from miles away. The man was instantly incinerated, as well as everything around him. And we continue to use that form of energy, even though we don't have to. We just don't have to. So, look, here's the thing. They don't, the people that run these companies, oil and gas companies, and the people that they buy off in government, they don't care about your health and safety, right? They don't care about if your home gets burnt down in a wildfire, that drier conditions, thanks to all the carbon they've already put into the atmosphere previously, because it's all cumulative. It all adds up. They don't care if your home gets burnt down by that. They don't care. They don't care if your home gets flooded by the floods that are going to happen. They don't care if a hurricane blows it away. They don't care. They don't care. Why? Because ExxonMobil gave them millions of dollars in legal bribes. Now, maybe they'd care if we gave them a bribe. Until then, they tell us to piss off. We don't care about you. And it's true. And Republicans are saying the same thing. Piss off. Unless you're giving us checks for millions of dollars to do the right thing, we don't care. Most of them are not going to live to that, to the age of where climate change has the most disastrous effects. I mean, look, most of them are old, wealthy, white people who are not going to be impacted by these effects, which is really sad. And look, if you're rich, you can buy your own firefighters to save your house. Or just buy another. I mean, silly poor people, come on. Why don't you just buy another house? Why don't you buy money? No, here's the thing. Climate change is happening. It's devastating. And it's going to get worse. Now, Trump may or may not believe that it's actually happening. And I don't know. I don't know what he believes. And I don't really care. Because right now, the truth speaks for itself. And the only question here now is how many people Republicans are going to end up hurting with their policies before the voters finally get back into reality and face what's actually happening. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.